Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
And welcome into Purple Access. Every Thursday we record this. Chip Scoggins, Star Tribune sports columnist, joins me, and we discuss what is the goings on with the Vikings. Chip Scoggins, and I want to start with your column today in the Star Tribune, in print as well. Very good.
In print, yeah.
In print. I like it. I like it when I get my print copy.
I love that you still get the print.
Yeah, although I'm gonna have to make some decisions about that. But that's not your problem. So anyway, though, your column I thought hit on a very interesting thing, and that is sort of the essence of JJ McCarthy, the it factor, the flipping a switch and becoming just a menace to defenses. So, what are your thoughts now that we've seen him for a game, a lot of bad and one really good quarter? What are your thoughts on this entire situation?
I wasn't surprised, Judd. He was nervous. You could see it. He was amped up in that game. And for anyone that thought he wouldn't be that way, I don't think that's realistic. He's 22 years old. He hasn't played in a football game, and we're not counting preseason because that doesn't count. 600 days, coming off an injury. He's playing in the stadium where he grew up going to games and cheering for that team. He's got all these people in the stands. Monday Night Football. This wasn't noon in Jacksonville for his first, So
nobody wants to be noon in Jacksonville, by the way.
Noon in Jacksonville,
including the reporters.
That's right. We've been there.
Yes.
Of course he's going to be nervous, and he looked nervous. I mean, the first series is like, whoa, he's hyperventilating. He needs to settle down here because he's changing plays, and the play clock's running, out, and it happened all first half. He just never really looked comfortable. As I don't think anybody on that offense looked settled in. I mean, it looked like a team that was playing their first game and hadn't played preseason and were nervous and not in sync. And Kevin O'Connell yesterday called it sloppiness. I think I was really, though, impressed with, and that's what I wrote about today. A lot of quarterbacks, not young or first starter, whatever, would have just, wouldn't have been able to pull themselves out of that. Like, it would have been a lost day. Hey, this is not our night. McCarthy did the opposite, Judd. I mean, his demeanor didn't change. He didn't look like he was – he looked antsy on the field, but I never felt like he retreated or fell into a shell or like was overwhelmed and wasn't going to be able to pull himself out. And then he made the throw at the end of the first half to Naylor, and I thought he could excel. And then he kicked a long field goal. The pick six was terrible, was a bad decision. But just the way when that thing started rolling and you saw that slow motion of him coming off the field and he had that angry look on his face. And then I didn't know we would see that kind of emotion for him. I knew he's an emotional player, but, it poured out of him, right? And then I saw the videos of him going into half, waiting to make sure he shook hands with every coach and player. Like, this is a rookie. He's 22 years old. Like, there are a lot of eyes on him, and there might have been some okay, wait a second now. He's,
Did you see Twitter? There were people who were trying to get Sam Darnold back at halftime.
But and then to see O'Connell's reaction after the read option touchdown run, and to find out afterwards that when they're down 11 and things look bleak, he goes into the huddle and looks at 10 other veterans some guys been in this league for 10 years, all pros, and says, hey, where would you ever be than right here?
Right.
To have that kind of, is it moxie?
Moxie.
Or confidence.
That
you're not sheepish going back in there like, hey, I'm not playing well here. I just thought that, to me, that was the most important thing that happened Monday night, was to see his demeanor when things went to hell in a handbasket. The fact that he didn't unravel because of that, to me, that was so important.
It was a perfect combination, too, because if I was Brian Flores, I would have blitzed Caleb more to start the game because I think Caleb would have melted. The defense essentially held you in that game. the Bears are still the Bears, so they're not great. But then, what I loved about McCarthy was exactly that. And look, like as you wrote, it's unquantifiable, but we've been talking about this for a while, that it factor. And the other thing that you can tell is this kid has won a lot.
3 losses, Judd.
I know.
High school, college.
But it shows.
Yes.
But it showed, like he overcame his nerves with his, oh no, I win a lot.
Yeah, and we can talk about the record for quarterbacks, but he hasn't lost. Three games between high school, college, and now NFL was 1 game. I just think winners find a way to persevere when things are not going right. When things look like they're hopeless, they don't throw in the towel and just say, we'll get him next week. I mean, he figured out a way to get it going. You're right. I think he's won all his life. I think that's important quality. And we've talked about his maturity, Judd, from our interactions and just kind of what we thought of him.
Yeah.
The way he answers questions, kind of just his presence. Coaches, players have talked about it, but he hasn't played a game. Like it's one thing to say that after a training camp practice. It's another thing to see it in a real game where there's consequences to your
So
performance.
True. So true.
So that's and Seifert asked KO about that yesterday. Like, even though there was a belief and everybody talked about it, was there still like part of you like had to see him prove it? And O'Connell said, I didn't ever want that to be that, but yeah, you're right. He's like, we hadn't seen it. Like, we hadn't seen it in a game. And I just think that was yes, it's the Bears. Yes, they they imploded too, which I also think Flores' defense deserves credit for that too. But and
once he started to blitz him, when Caleb got blitzed more, it was curtains.
You saw it happen. He lost his accuracy, and
yes.
but I just think going forward, forget the stats, forget all the stuff in the fourth quarter. It was just the presence and the demeanor that gave you confidence that okay, there's going to be rough spots coming up. It's just inevitable, right? That he's going to be able to withstand it. Doesn't mean he's going to win. I mean, he's not going to go undefeated, obviously. I mean, but doesn't mean he's going to win every game.
Right.
When that happens. But I don't think – you remember we talked about it going up to a couple things, and they materialized. One was we said if he made a bad mistake, we don't think he's going to crumble. Mm-hmm. He made a bad mistake. He didn't crumble. I mean, that played out. We had to see it, but that played out. Mm-hmm. And we can get to this later. But the other thing we said was curious to see how O'Connell uses his speed and running ability. We saw an important part of that. So, but yeah, it was that thing was a roller coaster ride, Judd, for him, for the team. It was unbelievable. I mean, just how poorly things went and how just inept they look offensively in the first half, and then the pick six. I did not think Can you imagine what the narrative would have been had that thing not done a U-turn?
Oh, I mean, we'd be bailing on JJ right now as a fan. The fan base would be out completely. The calls to get Kirk from the Falcons and bring him across the sideline might be on. Who knows? But yeah, he was. But it was interesting, and I actually wrote about this for my Substack, Chipper. Was I actually think the fact it went so poorly, and then we saw what he did in the final quarter, and they won, was more instructive than if it had gone well the entire game. Yes, because you needed to see how he handles adversity. Yeah. Like if they would just come out and steamrolled, I mean, it'd been great. Everybody celebrated, but I don't think there would have been the same sense of, wow, wait a second. And we learned nothing. Yeah. I mean, the fact that he picked himself up off the mat, I mean, that first half could not have gone much worse. I mean, they couldn't do anything. And it's interesting that, the game looked fast for him, right? Which is natural. I'm sure it felt like it was operating at 1,000 miles an hour. Yes. Just getting the playoff, Judd, it felt like it was beat the clock every time they went up to the line. It's like, what the heck is going on here? Like, snap the ball. Let's go. You know what's interesting about that, though, Chip, is and I know O'Connell was asked about that very thing yesterday in his press conference, but what's interesting about this is I think it's an O'Connell problem. This has been an issue with every quarterback going back to Kirk. And because Darnold last year, we asked about it at one point. Yeah. And I'm not. And McCarthy's young, so it's probably more of a problem. but I think he tries so hard to talk to his quarterback until there's 15 seconds left because, like, if this had just been JJ the first time and it's like, okay, this isn't he, and it needs to be cleaned up, don't get me wrong. But I think it's as much O'Connell. I think he's going to need to scale back maybe just a little bit on how on probably the timing because he can talk to JJ till there's 15 seconds left. But I was watching that and I'm like, this is familiar. I've seen this before.
It was if I remember, it was a thing that we talked about with Darnold, right? That there was and what was the theory that O'Connell's trying to talk him too much through this, like.
That's my only guess.
Navigate him. Well, and he mentioned yesterday that, he's going against Dennis Allen, who's, a really good defense coordinator. Veteran guy, is known for – and maybe they were I don't want to say overthinking it, but we're really trying to figure it out while also helping a guy making his first start who probably was nervous.
Yes.
Probably was trying to help him get through that. And so maybe that led to the like I said, beat the clock. He's just like, oh my gosh.
Well, the pick six was a direct result of the entire thing being hurried.
Well, I felt like JJ was cannon out of the play at 5 seconds. I'm like, you don't have enough time to get to everything just felt rushed.
And I wonder if that's the thing though, is like there's definitely, I guess what I think is there's a commonality in why this is among O'Connell's quarterbacks. And look, Kevin does a great job. So this is not all, he does a fantastic job, but it feels like there's a common thread between his quarterbacks that something in the translation is taking too long. There's too many I mean, I don't claim to know. I just know this wasn't the first time I've seen this. It looked familiar on Monday. And of course, McCarthy being young probably makes it look worse because he's trying to speed through things a little bit too much.
Well, and I'm sorry you froze there for a minute, but yeah, I think you're right. The fact that it's his first start, we were gonna, really train in on every move, every second, everything he does. But I'm guessing as they got back and they decompressed and went through it and said, okay, what were the issues? What were the communication issues? Why does I'm sure they'll figure that out, right? I mean, it got smoother. It's going to get smoother. It's and he
yes.
And I do think it's maybe a little bit of that. O'Connell said he probably underestimated the crowd noise and how into that, when the Blackhawks singer did the
anthem.
Jim
McCarthy, I guarantee you, McCarthy loved that. He grew up a Hawks fan.
Yes. Oh, you think
he loved Patrick Kane and Duncan
Keith.
Taves. Yeah, I guarantee you, and I'd love to actually ask him that question. I bet he was like, that locked him in more because that's hockey right there, man. That's like
Cornelia, what's it?
Jim
Cornelison?
Yeah, Cornelison, I think is how it's pronounced.
Well, I've covered probably a handful of Wild games at United Center.
Yeah.
And that place, I mean, it's awesome when that thing goes. Anyways, that's a sidebar there. But
it was cool.
But I think he said he underestimated that. And Judd, his team didn't play in the preseason.
Right.
They had one series in the preseason, so this was like their first. So, as O'Connell called it, sloppiness, and they've got to clean it up, and it may take a couple of weeks to kind of find their rhythm, but they found it, and there are just some throws. The touchdown to Jefferson, I mean, that was a laser in there in traffic.
Yep.
And how about the double pickup by who help me
Mason?
Mason, yeah. He gets the one guy, and then it's the stunt, and he peels off. Yeah, I mean, he was great. Sorry, I'm forgetting his name there. But that throw was incredible. The Aaron Jones, which we'd seen in training camp, that play, we saw that a lot in training camp. So
that's a very nice play.
But the read option, man.
Yep.
We talked about it, and I've said this several times. Like when McCarthy came here for a senior year, Michigan played at Gophers. That was the one thing that really jumped out at me is like how athletic and fast he is, and you wondered how O'Connell would incorporate that into his scheme and game plan because he wasn't going to do that with Kirk. I mean, it was a beautiful design, perfect situation, and they have that ability. I don't say it's going to be, a lot, but they have that ability.
Right. Well, and the nice thing about that play, there's a few things, but one, at the time, it was unscouted. So,
Yes.
like, the Bears didn't have any idea. Like, they might have assumed maybe, but they didn't know that. Now it's been scouted, but more importantly, yeah, you're so right about this. I mean, and we talked about this in camp. McCarthy's ability to use his legs is going to become, especially when he's young. I liken it to, and I think we brought this up, but if we didn't, it's not a big deal. I liken it to a young Aaron Rodgers, because I think we covered the 2008 opener, his first start, the Monday night game, Vikings Packers at Lambeau together. And if you remember, I mean, that was not a polished Aaron. Like, that was a athletic kid who could make some throws, no question about it, but he would use his legs. And it has been so long since the Vikings had a quarterback who this was an option for, I think. Just to have him say, look, if something breaks down, you can run. Get out of bounds, but you can run.
I remember talking to Vikings defenders in those early years of Rodgers, and the two things that drove them crazy about defending him: the back shoulder throw, and him scrambling for first downs on third downs. Like, those things are just kind of like backbreakers. So I think that is there. Yeah, I absolutely think that is there, and you can use that. I mean, and I think McCarthy, was it you at training camp asked him about him, and he's like, "I was shooting you." Yeah,
because I think we saw it in the Houston game.
Yeah, and you can tell that like that's totally on his mind, like part of his skill set. Like, he knows he can rely on that. So I think that's something really to pay attention to going forward, something they can use. And, obviously the offense is going to get better, but I think, they got to get Darisaw back, clearly. I mean,
yes,
that was a problem. That was, I don't know if alarming is the word, but it was not good enough. Mm-hmm. And then they might want to get Addison back. I mean, he had the chemistry more than anyone with JJ in camp. So I just think once he gets settled in, he has the full offense there. It's going to look obviously a lot cleaner and a lot smoother. But again, to me, the number one takeaway was how he picked himself up off the mat, and finished that game.
I never really got down.
The demeanor, never. No, it's like it never. Did you get a hint of dejection or bad negative body language or vibes? I never sensed that.
I don't think it's in his DNA, man. I don't think it is, and I do think to go back to the depression episodes that he fought when he was in Florida at the IMG Academy and the meditation in that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that took it out. I don't know if that stripped the negative vibes out of him. He seems like he was probably born without them. But, I mean, he threw the pick six, and he just sort of jogged off, and O'Connell reassured him, and he didn't look flustered. And then when he started the comeback, that's when he got the mean mug going.
Yeah.
And but you know what's funny, Chipper, is I think we both have been doing this long enough. We have a feeling for when that's an act, like you're trying to assure yourself it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't get that vibe from him. I don't get the vibe that this is an act. I get the vibe that this is just who he is.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of his personality. You mentioned the meditation, because I asked him yesterday, I was like, football is obviously a very emotional game. The emotions are all over the place there. How do you not, when things are going bad and you have a bad mistake and just not working, how do you not let kind of like negative emotions seep into that? And he said the meditation, and he's figured out kind of how to like stay in the moment and like focus on, okay, I made a bad play.
But that's the quarterback thing.
The next play, yeah, and
but that's what the great ones do. That
it's funny because he said it's simple but very hard to do. He's saying it's a simple concept to say that, and I guess you have to. Guess you could train yourself to do that, but I sort of think you have to be wired that way too, Judd.
Yeah, you can't. I think that things like the meditation can help that, but I think that you also have to have the what's the word, predisposition to.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, Chip, it makes perfect sense. Like when you watch the great ones, because there's so much failure involved.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna throw pick sixes. They're gonna have times where there's no choice but to dirt the ball and you give up a down. But I go back to if you watched a guy like Brady and how he handled that, and he would get pissed off.
Yeah.
Like it was not he'd get pissed off, but also it's like, how do you process? I feel like in football and sports probably, it's more important how you process the failure
Oh, yeah.
than the good times, because the good times are a byproduct of how you process the failure.
100%. I mean, I think that's such a huge trait in sports. And we've seen it, like guys that can just like let it roll off them, not like they don't care, but it doesn't carry with them, and it doesn't, get, because we always say don't let one mistake turn into two mistakes, and don't get beat by the same thing. And certain guys just have it. I guess I didn't know he was that emotional.
During games?
Yeah. And I asked him, I was like, was that, because I mean, Judd, it poured out of him. I said, was that, and maybe it was because of the situation, being home, first game, all that stuff going in Monday night.
Yeah.
Played terrible. And then I'm sure that had something to do with it. He's like, no, that's how I roll. Like when I'm in a game, that's what it is. And so I'm curious to see that going forward, because Darnold, didn't show a lot of emotion. Kirk did, but not all the time. I mean, JJ just felt like he was wearing it on his sleeve, like he had that kind of.
But it's funny because he doesn't wear the bad emotions on his sleeve. That's that's the difference. It's like he threw the pick six and he just went sort of flatlined.
Yeah.
But at the end, when they're like when he scored that touchdown, like you just said, it poured out of him. So it's a very interesting thing to watch because of the personalities, how they're different, and when you are emotional, or when you just look like you're just a stone cold quarterback.
And it's interesting because I felt like it lit a fuse on his sideline too. You could see his teammates that poured out of them, and O'Connell, that the camera was in his face and he's going nuts. You can tell in short time these players have gravitated to him and lifted him up looked at him as a leader.
Well, think about that. With the story that I think it was the third quarter that you brought up, where he looks around, there's Ryan Kelly, Brian O'Neill, Justin Jefferson. Like you're looking
Aaron Jones.
You're looking at these guys who were playing. There's some who were playing in the National Football League when you were in high school, and and it's Soldier Field, and you're not playing well. You're not playing well. Forget your team.
Yeah,
because your team's not playing well either, or offensively, and it's Soldier Field and it's going crazy, and you have the wherewithal to say, is there any place you guys would rather be? Like that ain't normal for
no. And think about it, Judd. If you didn't have their respect, how do you think that might have gone over? Not every quarterback's going to be able to pull that line off. They'd be like, "Hey, shut up. Just do your job."
Ryan Kelly would rip your head right off your shoulder.
But you could tell that, like Aaron Jones said, they all looked around and was like, "Hey, that was
I know,
insightful, enlightening." Like it kind of changed their spirits. And what JJ said, a smile goes a long way.
Well, it's not this far, but it also is. It's just as far as, because it feels like in the midst of him not playing well, he could tell his teammates were uptight, so he calmed them down.
Yeah,
and it felt a little bit like the I think it was 1989 Super Bowl Joe Montana story. The Niners are going down the field. It's the winning drive, and he looks up at the stands and goes, "Hey, isn't that John Candy?"
That's right.
Like just anything to sort of lighten the mood, which is great in any walk of life at work. Like if you think about it, if you're on a deadline or something, and it's really intense, and then people that are like, "I got this, it's okay." It's a really specific, important skill.
Yeah, you know who I think was great at that? Favre.
Oh God, yeah, that's 100. Yes.
Yeah,
oh, I love
Favre
that.
was good about doing something, to kind of
stupid.
Is it a distraction or what, or just like get away from break the tension type thing,
Well, because and I think the common thread between, because there's not going to be a lot, between Brett Favre and J.J. McCarthy, because I sense this with McCarthy, I think they both loved football and loved the competition so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they saw it not as pressure but pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now Brett would sometimes do the wrong thing and rifle the ball with that cannon arm, and JJ might do the same at times.
For sure.
but it's like they both love it so much that they're like, why are you uptight, man? This is great. I love this.
And I'm glad, you know what I think really got, I do think the throw to Naylor got him settled down, and the fact that they got those points allowed him kind of exhale going into halftime. But I do think what got him going, and the guy, I forgot his name, when Jordan Mason was starting to get going.
Yes.
I just felt like they all could okay, now we have a rhythm. Now we can run the ball. Now we can do different.
Yes.
I think Jordan Mason, his impact, I mean, obviously McCarthy got all the attention and headlines, but to me, Jordan Mason changed that game.
Oh, yeah. Because those two, I think it was back-to-back carries. It was after Cairo Santos missed the 50-yard field goal attempt, which, by the way, also flipped that game. But the Vikings got the ball at their own, 40 or something.
40,
like that.
Yeah.
And Jordan Mason had back-to-back runs that were both very good, and that and it's weird because the game plan itself didn't work for 3 quarters. It didn't work, but in that series, that's how this is supposed to work. And I did find it intriguing that in the post-game presser, O'Connell himself said, I need to grow as far as calling the run. He admitted he probably didn't lean on the run enough, which is supposed to be a huge part of this. But how weird was it to see, Chip, because it's been so long, a running back like that in purple who just basically was a bleep kicker. He was bowling guys over. It was sort of Dalvin before Dalvin started to decline, maybe?
It sort of reminded me of Chester Taylor.
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
I don't know
Chester
if he was that strong, but he did run tough.
Yeah. Well, we saw it in camp, but you never saw broken tackles because they don't tackle.
That's what I was trying to tell O'Connell.
I know, you're right.
It doesn't count. That's what I was
saw
trying
it
to tell
clearly.
him. That's what I was trying to tell him. Everyone thought I was dismissing the run. No, I was saying you don't get to actually run the play because you thud a guy up and then they blow the whistle.
And you don't know what happens after that. I mean, he's
so maligned.
It is. I forgot who was it said it is accurate. Mason sees it clearly. He sees it and he's going. He hits it hard and he's strong, and we know how big his legs are and powerful. I think that could be a really good 1-2 combination with him and Aaron Jones, and see more Jones out of the backfield as a receiver.
Yes.
And I thought as they went along, I thought the offensive line, gave him some lanes and creases. So that to me more, that got them settled in. Those couple runs, the missed field goal, obviously that changed the game. If they make that, I don't know, the Vikings come back and win. But those 2 runs, it almost felt like they said, okay, now we're ready. now we know what we have to do.
It settled things down.
It absolutely settled it down.
Those runs get you first downs. They get you in, to use your point, a rhythm. But this is also how it's supposed to be. This is what you want. That was, in some ways, now it was an ugly game, but there were elements of that game to me that were a January win. Yeah. Because it's not going to be simple. It's going to be difficult, right? Your run game has to work. It did in the fourth quarter. There were things about that game that I said, okay, this can be translated to a playoff game. Yeah. As far as what you have to do, because it's not going to be 50-yard, bombs and this high-flying circus show, and the run game doesn't really work. I would have loved to. I would love to see an experienced McCarthy now to go back to the last game of the regular season, because that game was not out of hand for a long time. The Vikings were in that game; they just couldn't get anything going, and then they locked. And then Darnold looked hopeless. But I was thinking to myself, if we get to that point again, wouldn't you love to see McCarthy be given the keys to that situation?
Yes, and I'm curious to see, now that we've seen the zone read in the red zone, and how much of that becomes available and an option in this offense.
Well, I think it also makes Jordan Mason more dangerous now, because now that they put that on film, you gotta count for McCarthy.
Yeah,
and I think the one thing about that entire game, coaching wise or play calling wise, that I hated the most was the when the Bears got the penalty on the 2-point conversion, and the Vikings still tried to pass the ball.
I know.
You got Jordan Mason, Kevin.
I know. Slam it up in there.
You got Jordan Mason. He should score a ton of red zone touchdowns.
I know. Let him lower his head and just power his way in there. I know that drove me crazy too. But yeah, that was great. Defensively, I think once they started getting pressure on it, you saw they gave up 10 points.
Yeah, they gave up a touchdown. Was that the first drive? The Bears.
Yeah.
Caleb scored the rushing touchdown, but then after that
they settled in and yeah.
Well, and I don't know. I don't know about this.
Yeah, I don't either. It's
good luck, Bears.
I say Ben Johnson has a lot of work for them to get on the same page what they want, but now Cottle mentioned yesterday you got Van Ginkel and Okuda in the concussion protocol. We'll see what Harrison Smith's situation is.
Blake Cashman's out.
Blake
Cashman's
like for
a
out.
few weeks with a hamstring.
Yeah.
Now Eric Wilson did come in and was.
It's your guy, man. You called it.
I told you. He's a veteran. He's a special teams ace. He's a pros pro, and he has substantial, including here with Zimmer, starting experience. That to me is a massive upgrade.
You said it all training camp and I agree, but I didn't know it'd be like okay.
Well, you didn't want it to be that quick.
you don't want to be a season opener.
But Cashman gets hurt. Like this is the thing.
Yeah.
Blake
he was terrific, and he blocks the punt and just made a ton of plays, and it's nice to be able to slide in a veteran who's like that you just feel comfortable, right?
And green dot immediately.
Yeah. So, but we know their cornerback room was thin already, and now with the short week, are they going to be able to get through the protocol? I don't know. That's a little. I would say, this early in the season to possibly be without, 2 starters if Harrison doesn't come back, and then one of your top 3 corners.
Yeah, and Theo Jackson, who I've liked for a long time, didn't have a great night. It was rough. What's funny? Byron Murphy had a bad night.
Yeah, did he? I didn't see what his.
Yeah, he didn't have a great night. I think he was in the bottom 5 of defensive players, but just eye test wise, he was around.
Yeah,
he was around a lot of plays that were successful early on, at least for the Bears. So yeah, the cornerback room, I will contend it's not complete.
Finished. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I mean, because your depth it's already getting tested.
And Okuda gets hurt.
More. Yeah.
Like this is the 2 knocks against him, and the guy was the 3rd pick by Detroit in the 2020 draft overall. But the 2 knocks against him are pass reps have not been good, but he gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, and now he's in the protocol, so hopefully it's not not a long-term thing.
Ryan Kelly with a toe concerns me, not because of his toe, but because again he's an older player who gets hurt, and as much as I like McCarthy, Michael Juergens, hopefully Ryan Kelly can stay on the field. Let's just say that. Michael Juergens might be fine, but it just feels like the upgrade to a bleep kicker at center.
Yes.
And a guy that can, he was putting guys on their back. We haven't seen that from a Vikings center. No offense, Garrett Bradbury, for a long time.
And Donovan Jackson.
God, great game.
Judd, this is exactly why they went out and said we have to address the interior offensive line. They did it, and you're seeing why.
Yep. Yeah, Jackson was no pressures and pass protection. It's funny though, he got worked by Flores' guys a little bit, not surprisingly because they're really good in training camp, but there was enough there, and he's a house and he's athletic.
Yeah. That
you said to yourself, I think this is going to work.
Well, every time I go to camp, I'm like, man, he is big. That guy is big. And I mean, you're going against veterans in camp, and by the way, Hargrave, he showed up in the season opener too. He had a really nice game, I thought.
2 sacks.
Yeah. As in, Jonathan Allen had one and just didn't get Caleb to the ground. Early on, it's just like I felt like they were there. They just didn't get home. Like either the rush lanes were out or
Grenard didn't get a sack, and he was. I think he had like 7 pressures.
Yeah, and some of that you got to give credit to Caleb Williams. He's elusive in the pocket and can escape. But
right,
I think those guys are probably kicking themselves a little bit. Like, man, we were right there. We should have finished that. But they disrupted, and they clearly got Caleb out of sorts there in the second half where he was wild with his throws.
All right, so they play the Falcons Sunday night football. I'm not quite sure why this is the Sunday night game.
Yeah.
A year ago at U.S. Bank Stadium was a noon game when that was Kirk coming back to town. But Penix against J.J. McCarthy, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's interesting. Two young quarterbacks. It'll be fun to see that. I just think being at home, that place is going to be electric. I think it's going to, between the crowd noise and Brian Flores' scheme and the pressure that they can create, I think it's going to be hard for Penix and that offense to be consistent. They may get some plays, but I think it's going to be hard for them to be consistent. And I would think that there'll probably be more nerves for McCarthy because this is his first home game and the excitement of that, and so it may look a little rough early on again. But I would I picked this as a win. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't pick it again.
Yeah. So the Falcons, two of their top receivers are hurt. Drake London has a shoulder and did not participate fully in practice. He was limited yesterday. Darnell Mooney has a shoulder as well. I guess my only question offensively is how do you account for Penix consistently and Bijan Robinson consistently? Like that to me is the secret sauce. But Flores comes up with so many different schemes. I'm not really concerned about it. I'm just curious what they do about it.
And I think they're having Allen and Hargrave in there. They're better equipped to handle the run this year. I think they're and some the guys they have behind them. I mean, those guys played well too. So,
this is great now that one, those guys are developed, Chip, and two, now it makes sense, right? Two veterans start. Redmond had, he impressed us at times last year, and now he's a year developed from that. So, like, now the rotation, and I will say this, whenever he gets a chance to play, he'll flash once or twice. Levi Drake Rodriguez.
He got the sack, right?
He just never
was it
stops.
A sack or a tackle for whatever it was?
I think it was a tackle for a loss, but I mean, he's got a motor that does not stop.
Yeah, and if you have that, Flores will find a spot and a role for you, right? So I trust he'll come up with a game plan that will be good for that group. So it's gonna be fun. I'm curious to see. It's always a great environment, but with McCarthy's first start, I'm sure in a night game, I'm sure that place is going to be electric.
Absolutely, Chip Scoggins. All right, great stuff.
I'll see you there.
Oh, are you going to be there too, covering it?
I'll be there. Yep.
Outstanding stuff. We'll talk to you next Thursday. He's Chip. I'm Judd. This has been Purple Access.